Well, it's safe to say the international break hasn't gone well for Arsenal. With some injuries coming up every day, it seems like the team is getting thinner and thinner for the big games coming up. So in this video, we're going to go through what the potential lineup could be for the North London derby and what I think Arteta should and is going to play overall. So let's get into it. Now, of course, this video is definitely starting off on a negative note. I'm doing this just as it is being reported that Martin Ødegaard has suffered an ankle injury in his game for Norway. Now, I'm not going to get into the international break as a whole and Nations League because obviously we all know I'm probably going to be very much against it. Now, while I can't quite make out what exactly the injury is from the videos, it does look like he has hurt his ankle, looking at more like a sprain. Obviously, we don't know the severity of it and we hope it is best case scenario, but ultimately I think that we're probably going to see Ødegaard out for a bit of time. Now, this is probably the worst time that this could have happened. Obviously, we've got Tottenham on the weekend, then Man City and obviously Atalanta in the week, which is an awful schedule anyway. And we've just got rid of Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe because they didn't get any game time in 2 years because Ødegaard had locked down that spot. Now, there's a lot of people that have been very critical of Ødegaard specifically in his tactical role, and I think it will be interesting to see how Arsenal adapt without him, but obviously he is our captain, one of the best players off the ball, and it is a major loss. This coupled up with the Declan Rice news and the Marino news means we're probably missing our three main midfielders for the Tottenham game specifically, which is obviously not a good thing at all. And that leads our only attacking midfield player that we can actually replace Ødegaard with is Nwaneri, which I do not expect to start for once because he is 17 and he's never started a Premier League game, let alone Tottenham away, which is a big ask for a young kid. Now, this leads into Arsenal. What are they going to do? We're in a situation here where we have not had to deal with this in a very long time, and not only are we playing any side, we're playing one of the hardest games of our season, Tottenham away, who are the most aggressive side in the Premier League right now and will be on the defenders very quickly. Now, I think this means that we can't really afford to play a Partey and Jorginho midfield duo. There is not enough mobility there, and even if you put Havertz in the midfield with them, you can't expect him for doing the run-in for both of them. Partey and Havertz, or Jorginho and Havertz, probably would work, as you could allow Havertz to do the run-in for an extra man, but he isn't going to be the best defensively, and I think sometimes we need a little bit more mobility, which I think Partey will play because he has a little bit more than Jorginho. Now, there is recent reports that Gabriel Jesus has now come back from injury. Obviously, I don't really expect him to start because it is very early on, but he has been training with the team the last few weeks over the international break, so maybe he could be ready to come in up front, which does make things a little easier with putting Havertz into midfield. But this still doesn't solve the issue of who's going to play that 8/10 role that Ødegaard plays. Now, because he has not really been injured in the last 2 years, even 3 or 4 weeks out in some big games is going to be key for us. We need players to come into them positions. Now, there's a few solutions to this problem. You could easily play Saka there potentially. I actually think without Ødegaard, you might see a better Saka because he'll get even more space, but he could potentially come into that midfield slot and still play as an inside forward on the right side as well. And we could just play someone like Sterling out on the right wing, or you could potentially play someone like Trossard in that midfield role. Now, Trossard isn't exactly great in midfield, but in a more attacking role and a transitional threat, I think he could definitely be useful in this system. I also think it has to be a Timber midfield start. At the start, I didn't think this was really going to be a solution, but we need legs in midfield. We can't afford Partey to play with Jorginho, so he could also potentially do a midfield of Trossard, Partey and Havertz. Now, the issue is there, where are Arsenal really going to attack from? There's none of them are real out-and-out attackers. Obviously, Havertz can do brilliant attacking work, but he's more going to be them legs in midfield. But this could work specifically against Tottenham because Tottenham will want the ball a lot, which we seem to give them the last few times we've played them and been able to counter-attack. And obviously, people like Ødegaard are a massive miss for things like this, but Ødegaard is almost better when Arsenal have the ball a lot, and I don't think we will have the ball a lot in the games against Tottenham and Man City, so we can afford necessarily him not to be there, although his pressing will be a big miss. Now, we're still going to have counter-attacking threats if we have Trossard playing, even Martinelli playing and Saka, with Havertz obviously in his free role. We've even got people like Sterling who will be acclimatized with the team now, being there for a few weeks training for a while. He could definitely come in and make an impact. And there's still people like Jorginho there who can also come on, who has been training with the team the last few weeks. Now, I think the team depends on certain things. I think you might see Timber in midfield very often. However, it does depend on the other injury that we got, being Calafiori. Now, Calafiori got a little knock and apparently it's not too bad looking at it. So he has been back at the Arsenal training ground trying to get his fitness there. So maybe he will be good enough to start his first game for Arsenal in left back, because I do do think he has earned that with his performances overall. That will allow us to play Timber in a double pivot with Partey, and you can play Havertz as that attacking midfield role. While Timber and Partey is definitely more defensive than someone like Rice or Odegaard to play in there, I don't really mind that against a team that we're going to have the ball a lot anyway. We just need to be quick at pressing them down, and Timber needs to be alert in midfield in them roles. And creativity is not really the main issue, I think, with this team. I don't really mind us playing a Partey, Jorginho, Havertz midfield because of creativity, because I think that will be fine against Tottenham, who are going to counter-attack and play in a specific way against anyway. Also, a front three of Jesus, if he's there, Sterling, Saka, Trossard should have enough with any of them combinations to create enough to win the game. And because Tottenham do play a very aggressive system with their triggers of their players not necessarily being very quick to react sometimes, and they have to leave things to go, I think there's going to be a lot more space for Saka in this game specifically than you're going to see in a lot more other ones. However, them leg issues are a problem in midfield. Now, this is a starting 11 that I think a lot of people have been talking about, and I do think it is more common that I will see Arteta play this than some of the other systems, just because I know he likes these players. There is also a connection that Jorginho clearly has with Havertz, and they play quite well together, I think. And potentially the legs in midfield might be okay if you do have a Calafiori in there, because we know Calafiori is a lovely progressive runner and runs around the pitch all the time. If he can invert and come into the middle when Arsenal have the ball, it could help us not get pressed so intently, because he could also get around defenders, and he could help Partey and Jorginho in certain ways where they're not always getting hoarded by the other team and they can actually keep the ball a little bit. But I do think in this game we're going to have a real good distribution by Raya, and he's going to have to play the ball long. There's going to be many balls long to Havertz, who has to head the ball down, for players like Sterling and Jesus to run in behind. It's one of the only ways that it's really going to work against a team like Tottenham and their aggressive setup with not our midfield. I honestly think Kai Havertz is probably the key player amongst all of this. Any system you play a mid, you need to get him doing his best work. I think if he's against Romero and Van der Ven, he can have them physical battles and really get at them, which is where you want him in them up front roles. However, you might need him to play deeper because we don't have them legs in midfield, although I do expect our defense to help a defense of Partey and Jorginho, which I kind of think Arteta will lean into. Now, I would be happy if Arteta surprised everyone and just thought he'd get nwaneri and put him in attacking midfield, or Saka in attacking midfield and Sterling out on the right, which I think could equally work. I think overall our attack will cause problems. I think we're going to play a counter-attacking system, and in a sense without Odegaard, I actually think our team kind of makes more sense with that. However, the problem is we don't have them legs in defensive transitions, where Tottenham are very good at and will press us high. And this is the thing you've got to think about. We need legs in midfield, but if you don't have legs in midfield, you need defensive cover. If you're assured that the defense is going to do enough where their legs are not going to be too much of an issue and Arsenal can also get at Tottenham, then I do not mind a Jorginho and Partey midfield. However, in comparison, we have to have a lot of attacking threat, especially on the counter and especially from long balls. We need to really play Sterling, I think, in that scenario, if that was to happen, and try and get the ball to Saka and Havertz as much as possible with deep runners. I wouldn't also mind Martinelli playing, because I think he might actually get a little bit more space now. So let me know in the comments what you think. I know that the Odegaard news is really sad and annoying, especially at the time, I think, more importantly, but it's just annoying not to have our captain around. But we're going to have to live with it for now and sort of find solutions to get around it. This game's going to be tough. The next few games are going to be tough, and we've really got to rely on some players that haven't been relied on in a while. But we are a big team, and I still believe we can do the best as we can. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.